I have a disclaimer. The story I'm about to read to you is about a woman that I loved very much. A woman who loved me very much. And though she's been gone for more than 30 years, she continues to influence me daily. I'm the only daughter of a woman whose motto was, "One is not truly a lady until one has crossed the Champs-Élysées at traffic hour in stiletto heels." It's a tough role. My mother was an actress. She chose her roles carefully and played them brilliantly. While married to Mr. Hayden, my brother's father, she was the Beverly Hills young trophy wife to the much older, refined man. The refinement came from being born into a wealthy family. The events of 1929 stripped the family of the wealth, but not the refinement. As Mr. Hayden's trust fund dwindled, it became harder to keep up with the Beverly Hills cocktail set and the thirsty desire for elegance of his much younger wife. His lawyer suggested that they move to a ranch in the Santa Barbara foothills that the lawyer owned and live in one of the cottages on his property. Mr. Hayden's money would last longer there, and there would be far fewer elegant gatherings on an avocado ranch to tax them. At 50 years old, Mr. Hayden didn't expect to be without sufficient income, let alone to suddenly find himself a father for the first time of not one, but two small boys a year apart. The ranch in Carpinteria offered him a retreat from the LA society pages and a place to raise a family, albeit a bit late in life. Too late, actually. He died of a heart attack in my mother's arms in 1956, paving the way for her next role. This next role was that of the young country widow and perfect mother. There were fabulously themed parties for the Hayden boys on the beaches bordering the Carpinteria Reef or in the foothills under grand old oaks. This role was soon to end, however, as mother was raising her sons on a quickly dwindling trust. My father was a divorced medical student going to USC on the GI Bill, a childhood sweetheart of my mother's. He was a promising possibility for her next role. Fast forward, Act 3, Scene 1. Two former sweethearts approaching their 40s, one with fresh ink on a medical school diploma and a daughter, the other with two sons and a dwindling income. And oh yes, a surprise pregnancy that would produce a daughter in the summer of 1958. The not-so-young doctor and his not-so-young new bride, now saddled with children and debt and dreams of something better, started their married life together. New role for Mom, doctor's wife. There's little time for family when one is trying to build a booming medical practice late in life. My father was 40 years old and had some serious catch-up to do if he was going to build a practice and realize financial stability before it was time to retire. He and my mother worked long, hard hours to build a medical center that included 7 operatories, a dental suite, and a 2-bedroom apartment upstairs for those late nights when they were just too tired to make it back home across town. That apartment eventually became their home, not ours. My brothers were shipped off to a military boarding school, and I was left in the family home across town to be watched after by a string of live-in help. We saw our parents on the weekends where we would all play out our roles as happy doctor's family, sailing and swimming at the beach club and fine dining in the evenings. Sunday evenings we would all return to our other lives. My brothers back to the academy, my parents back to the clinic, and I would be shuttled back to the tract home with the resentful help. Some of my earliest memories were of watching my mother sit down to breakfast when all of us kids got to stay at the clinic apartment for the night. A rare sleepover event. Their apartment was decorated in that simple Danish-style furniture that was all the rage in the 1960s. In the kitchen area was a small round table that served as my parents' dining table. And in the middle of this table was a cut crystal candy bowl full of multicolored pills. I remember how beautiful all of those colors were. And I would play with them. I'd sift through them with my fingers and arrange colored lines on the table. I knew enough not to eat those pretty colors. I was a doctor's kid, after all, and I knew what medicine was. I knew that all those pretty colors were my parents' medicine. My mother's morning ritual was to pour herself a glass of orange juice, empty whatever leftover brandy from the previous evening into it, and then I would watch my mother with her beautifully manicured nails delicately pick out her favorite colors from the candy bowl. Oh, how mesmerized I was by watching this ritual. There were pink capsules, white tablets, tiny little blue ovals. So pretty. What I came to understand many years later was that this ritual was also played out in the late evening hours, long after children had been returned to their respective quarters or tucked into the visiting beds. A ballet in reverse. The wife strung out on pharmaceuticals, a perfect role for a 1960s doctor's wife. My parents seemed so elegant and mysterious to me. They were brilliant, attractive people whom everyone seemed to want a piece of. Their love affair was a local legend. No one seemed to question their approach to parenting. They were just too busy for such a mundane pastime as raising children. My mother was so elegant, and everyone was in love with her, from all of my father's patients to the handyman who kept the clinic in shape. She was also elegant to her absentee children, especially to the youngest. The love between mother and daughter was a strong and intimate one. I didn't realize at the time that I was an abandoned child. I just knew that this beautiful woman abandoned me and adored me, and I adored her. And it's from this same woman, this same actress, that I learned compassion and grace and forgiveness.